I'd always had an interest in wine, not, I have to say, in many respects, a great deal more than what you might call an enthusiastic amateur, with everything that implies. About 10 or 12 years before I retired, we'd acquired some farmland in Hampshire. And in 2008, we planted our first vineyard, and we planted about 25 acres. And then 3 years later, planted another 10, 11 acres. We've ended up as one of the largest wineries in England. I wouldn't say by accident, but it certainly wasn't what I expected at the beginning.
So I was working as a wine waiter in this restaurant, and they had a special anniversary dinner. One of the wines that I was serving was Krug 1979 from a double magnum, and the owner of the restaurant said to me, if there's anything left at the end, you can try it. So of course I made sure there was a little bit left at the bottom, tried it, and that wine just blew me away. I can still taste it today, and that's what really got me interested in wine. While I was working in my laboratory and acting as a consultant to various other wineries in the UK, I met Simon Robinson. He asked me if I'd be able to build him a winery. I said yes, not having ever done that before, but pretty cocky, thinking that I had the ability and the knowledge to do it.
With Emma's help, we designed not just a larger winery, but a method of operation which meant we could take in increasing amounts. And luckily, the site that we'd found here was a very flexible site. It was originally bunch-fold chicken sheds with industrial use.
He said, well, what do I need to have a decent winery? I said, you've got to flatten the whole site and we'll start again. And so we did.
It's really exciting for me personally to be able to build a business from scratch, particularly one that's making a new, really high quality British product.
Anything I needed or wanted for the winery, he said yes. So we have the cock-art press, the Rolls-Royce of champagne, sparkling wine presses. We have numerous tanks, barrels, everything we could possibly want as winemakers we have in the winery, thanks to Simon's generosity.
My dad was in the wine trade since I can remember, and we used to have a big shed full of wine, and the irony is my dad never drank wine at home, and we used to clean it out when we were older, so he used to get annoyed that we drank all of his wine. I'd always travelled a lot in my youth. I sort of had this fairly naive dream that I'd go around the world selling English wine, and then it turns out it's exactly what I do.
I've always seen export as a really important part of our trade here. It is making sure that we have the greatest possible demand for our products, widening our consumer base, selling our wines to the wider global public.
Actually, when I joined, we weren't really selling much, and now we're one of the leading exporters of English sparkling wine.
The biggest problem is just dealing with the workload, hundreds of thousands of bottles. But the biggest problem we face is the variation in yield year to year. One year, the same area of vines will produce 6 tonnes a hectare. The next year, they'll produce 12 tonnes a hectare. So planning for that in the winery is very, very tricky. The flip side of having a really good harvest is it costs us a lot of money to process it.
There's a lot of things I like about Hattingley, actually. Firstly, Simon Robinson, the owner, I think is a lovely man, a really kind soul. He's very supportive of the industry. He pays for a lot of the staff to go and study at Plumpton and travel abroad to, broaden their experience. He's not in it just to make a load of cash.
We got a formula. We have a recipe for the way we make the wine here, which is quite particular to the Hattingley style. I would love to see that continue without it changing too much over the years, allowing for innovation and climate change.
Where I'd like us to be is a household name in the UK, and I'd just like people to have a nice feeling when they think about Hattingley and see it as something that is part of Britain.
I would love the business in 100 years' time to be regarded as one of the finest British brands, really, in the UK, serving the finest quality wines and regarded as something that I can look down on and be justly proud of.